I'm Stacey from staceysaintjohn.com.
And I'm Valerie from quilldecor.com.
And we are here to help you better your B&B.
Yes, we sure are. And this week we are going to Eatonton, Georgia, to talk about Susanna's beautiful lake home. And we are going to have a little bit of a different episode today because we are going to talk all about Airbnb photography and how just improving that one thing can completely transform your rental.
Amen, sister. Now, let's first talk about these Fab Five photos, Val.
Let's do.
My biggest takeaway from I've got several thoughts, but my biggest takeaway is we need to make sure that the Fab Five photos are decluttered. It feels very cluttered. What say you?
Yeah, I think the same thing. And I think there's several reasons that it feels that way. One is that we are looking at a space that feels a little cluttered. Now, I know that Susanne, I said it wrong. It's Susanne, not Susanna. I apologize. Susanne, I know that you want to highlight the amenities in your garage. And so I know why you have that photo in there. But as a first impression, especially, we want to get that photo of the boat and the garage and stuff off of this Fab Five because it gives the impression of like, I want to go on vacation to not have to deal with all of my stuff and look at all the stuff. So that's specifically my brain. That's my way of thinking. But there is actually a psychology around what people feel and the emotion that is evoked by these 5 photos. So can we look at some examples, Stacey, of some other places?
We can, girl.
Let's show what we're talking about.
Let's do it.
Okay, so here we have a beautiful property in Massachusetts. And this is McCarran's property. She does a beautiful job. She does the design herself. But this Fab Five kind of paints a different picture. What do you think, Stacey, about the difference and why this one might be better?
So let me just say that I love the color consistency in these photos. It feels like a palette of photos that all are cohesive. Whereas when I look at Susanne's photos, it does not feel cohesive at all. I also think that the lighting differences in Susanne's photos are obviously not represented here in McCarran's because we've got consistency of lighting, even though we've got both outdoor and indoor pictures. What are your thoughts?
Exactly that. Yeah. So if you look at McCarran's, you see there is this beautiful uniformity to the lighting. And you're absolutely right. She's very good at picking a color palette and then repeating that through the home and making it feel that even though it's full of color, there is a common thread. You can tell this is the same house. She likes lots of pattern and lots of color, and she does a good job with that. But the main difference here is that you have this consistency in those 5 photos. It looks very uniform. It looks uncluttered. It looks clean and inviting. So that is what we're going for. Another place to show as an example is one. Now, this property is done as a little bit differently. This is in Huntsville, Ontario, and it's also a lake house, very beautifully decorated. But Susanne, your place is also beautifully decorated. You can have photos like this. We want to help you get there. One thing that they did differently here, it looks like there are 8 photos in the Fab Five, but this first photo, the large one here, is just a collage of 4 photos.
Yep.
But you see the same thing. You see the repetition of color throughout. This looks very uniform. It's clearly all done with one camera, all in the right light, the right time of day with the right brightness, and the color saturation and tone are similar throughout all of the pictures.
Yep.
Thoughts?
Love it.
Okay.
All right. Let's pop back. So Susanne, we think your Fab Five photos may need to be updated. Well, in fact, I think.
But we're going to talk about, like, we don't even think what you have right now is going to work for the Fab Five. So we're going to go through all of your photos. That's what this whole show is going to be about. And we're going to talk about some tweaks and changes you can make. And then you can come back to the Fab Five and you'll have 5 to choose from that do create that uniformity and consistency that is so appealing to a potential guest.
Love that. All right. Let's dive into the next point, Val, you want to take us through some of the pictures?
Yeah. So the first thing I want to talk about with these photos is the camera angles. So what you'll notice as you're scrolling through, and I make these a little bigger, when you're scrolling through is that we're taking all of these pictures from different heights and at different angles. So that makes it almost feel like you're walking through a fun house. And your
Wow.
place is not a fun house. It's beautiful and you have really nice furniture. But because everything is so inconsistent and the lighting is inconsistent, it doesn't feel as nice as it is in the pictures alone.
Totally.
And that's all you have to communicate with people initially. In those first few seconds, all you have is photos. They're not reading your stuff unless the photos are good. And then they'll dive into your copy and your listing.
I also think, Val, if I might say so, and Susanne, I hope I'm not hurting any feelings, but it feels like obviously these pictures are not done by a professional. And I think having professional photography for your listing is absolutely essential. Like there are no ifs, ands, or buts. You need to get a professional taking your photos who has experience with photographing short-term rentals, not just real estate. So I think obviously some of those angles that you're referring to, Val,
right here,
the manager is taking them. That would be what I would do.
We're holding the camera way up on this side. Now we're holding it down and it's pointing this way and they're wonky. And that's not appealing from this perspective, from seeing it as a potential place to stay. Yeah. Even if someone doesn't think the way Stacey and I do, which is like, oh, those camera's angles are off, people are going to think less of your property, even if they don't consciously come up with a reason for why.
Yeah, totally. Let's also talk about the blurry photos. Again, when you've got professional photographers, you know, obviously they're using high resolution camera lenses. Like we should have no blurry photos at all. At all.
And when you hire for a professional, one thing they'll do, which is very hard to do if you're just taking pictures from your phone, is that they'll have the lighting consistent throughout, because what they will deliver to you is, even if this kitchen is probably darker, I can tell it's darker, there's less natural light in there. But what the photographer will do when they hand you the picture, or they should do, and you should make sure they do, is that they will brighten up all the dark spots in the picture so that this appears as bright as another room. Now, somebody recently in a talk that Stacey and I gave was saying, is this false advertising for the place? I don't think so, because what you are doing is you're putting your best foot forward the way you would do for any property. So even if it's a little bit darker in the kitchen, you need your people who are going to book this place to be able to see everything that's in the kitchen, to understand what they're looking at and what they're getting, how they're going to move around in that space and work in that space.
Totally. Let's talk about time of day.
Okay, so this is the picture we want to talk about, time of day. It looks like, from best I can tell, there is some harsh sun coming in, probably lower in the day, potentially coming straight into a window, and it looks like maybe we have the curtains drawn. So that's why we get these weird patterns going on the wall here, on the pillows, and then we've got the lamp on to try and offset the darkness. So this is not good. Don't do this. Instead, you should be taking the pictures at a time of day when the sun is not harshly coming directly in. And also you want all of the curtains as wide open as possible. So when the sun isn't streaming in directly, you can open up those curtains to get as much natural light in as possible, turn off all of the artificial lights when you can. And that will, again, deliver that consistent color temperature, consistent bright photos all throughout your space.
Totally. Now, Val, I know we've got a special episode on photography, but I cannot have you click off of this photo without talking about the lamps on the bedside.
Okay.
I would love for those to be consistent.
Yeah, at least in height. They don't have to be identical. Like if you want to do something that's not matchy, that's totally fine. But they should, ideally they would be identical in height. Otherwise, it just kind of looks like, you threw the stuff you didn't want anymore around your Airbnb, and you don't want that to be the professional foot you're putting forward.
Totally. All right. I also just want to touch on as well, the order of the photos, and I do feel like a broken record, but that is so important.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to consider that you are taking someone on a tour of your home through the photos. You don't go from, if you were going to give me a tour of your home, you would not welcome me in the front door and then say, I'm going to take you out back, and then I'm going to take you in the garage, and then I'm going to take you in the bedroom, and then in the kitchen, and then back out back, and then back to the garage and back to the bedroom. No.
And now we're in the basement, and we're on the deck, and we're in the garage, and then we're in the backyard, and we're in the living room, and then we're on the pier, and then the dock, rather, not a pier, dock. Back in the living room again. Yeah. Okay. Also, let's talk about this little gem right here. What's that? Susanne. Is that a Dyson? Is that Dyson on this?
No.
This is your actual real live listing, girl.
Yeah. There's our timer.
Yeah, I think we could do 10 more minutes on the photos. But gosh, look at your sofa. Look at your gorgeous sofa and your staging. Like, it's just, you have the place to photograph. You've got your beams. Like, this is a gorgeous place.
Yeah.
What we need to do is maybe subtract a little bit of the excess so that it feels a little bit cleaner.
Yeah.
And we want to get as much natural light as possible and get a professional photographer in.
Yeah.
Anything we want to tell the photographer real quick before we go? Anything we want to tell that photographer, Stacey, when they come in, or how to prepare for photography day?
Yeah. I mean, have a shot list. Write down a list of the photos that you absolutely want for your property. Include, where I call them, magical moments. Include the little nuancy things that make your house a home and make it stand apart from any other property in the area. Be sure to include those on your shot list. I appreciate the fact that I'm seeing an entire room here, but there is strategy and technique in drawing out an emotion from a photograph. And that's what I want to be sure is included on your shot list as well. If you are not someone that has that vision, that is A-okay, but you need to make sure that your photographer does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And look at some really nice properties that you admire and see how they are doing it. Some property, go to Airbnb and look who's doing it well and see what shots they have that evoke that emotion, and how can you do the same thing?
Yeah, totally. All right. Wow. This has been fun. We've never done an episode all about one topic.
I think we should do it some more. I think it's really nice. I want to say keep it up, as we love dogs here at Better Airbnb. We love that you've got a happy puppy with a ball. Look at that yard. I can obviously bring my dog. I can play fetch with my dog. Like, that's communication that says 1,000 words. So keep it up there. I think that's terrific.
Awesome job, Susanne.
Awesome job, Susanne. Your place is gorgeous. I can't wait to see better photos, and we hope that this was helpful.
And if you want to apply to have your listing reviewed on the show, all you've got to do is go to betteryourbnb.com and fill out a super simple form.
Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Valerie Malone.
And I'm Stacey St. John. Happy hosting.
Bye.